Good morning. Let's see. What am I supposed to do here? I do that? Does that do it? Can you see me? Who am I? Who am I? We're just kind of doing a test run here. Um, I'm a relatively new show to the streaming world, and I'm having, you know, technical issues as I try to figure out how to connect my stream to that of the rest of humanity. We'll figure out whether I am successful or not. I've got some problems with my OBS studio at the moment, but we're going to go anyway. We're going to barrel through. I can't pause, so this is just going to be me straight through until I can't do it anymore. It's going to be about an hour, I hope. But, we'll just play it by ear. Who am I? Who am I is a stream of consciousness. In other words, it's me streaming consciousness, riffing about who I think we are and the kinds of things that I think would be helpful for us to get better at being on planet Earth, better at being with one another, better at getting along with one another, better at finding our own hopes and dreams and making them come true and all of that. Just better. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about source energy because I think it's the one thing that's really important to understand. And unfortunately, we aren't matter of fact about it. The nature of reality, we are very guarded about, and secret and private. And maybe we should be, because it goes to everything. It really is the most important thing to ponder and muse in this whole thing. Who am I? What is the nature of the reality I am swimming in? How does it work? What's the meaning of my emotions? Where is my guidance coming from? What is my mathematical configuration, and how do I fit in with the rest of the configuration? How is it matrixed together? And it is matrixed together, as a matter of fact. There is an energy field that matrixes us together, that ties me to you, that ties me to everything else. And the understanding of that... Oh, this is a terrible number for me to see. Let me see. Oh, yeah. That's terrible. I'm not going to look at that. So I have no views, and that's fine. That's fine. For whatever reason, there's a lot of people out there streaming things, talking about stuff. You really have to have something. And I've got this Pixabay background. It's open source. Everybody's seen this picture. And you've seen it for me 1,000 times in my studio because all my backdrops are Pixabay. Except for I do have slides. And let's just go through my slide presentation since I don't really know what to do. And I'm live and I need to practice. I'm capable of open riffing. Just riffing about where we're going. Because I have a sense of where we're going. A general sense of the good part, of the good where we're going. A lot of people, they can see the bad. It's easy to see the post-apocalyptic nightmare, but to see the really cool place where we're actually going, if you'd have talked to people 100 years ago, undergoing what was the World War, parts 1 and 2, somewhere in that time period. The World War started in 1914? Something like that, ended in 1918. And then the second part 2, started 1939, arguably 1933. Arguably it never ended because Hitler wasn't done. And he was so determined to finish it that he got into power to make sure that he could rearm Germany in his lifetime and go do what he wanted to do. But it didn't work out very well. Anyway, if you'd have asked those people 100 years ago if they could see the future, probably the things that they would have carved out, they would have described something that looked like all of the material specifics of what they had now with, I don't know, what am I saying? People see the darkness in front of them. They have a harder time seeing the light. Do you know where we're really going? We're going to a place where we will have gravity control. We will have gravity control. Now, right in this moment, we don't have gravity control, and you've got to ask yourself why. Why don't we have gravity control? Because on the one hand, we don't quite understand what gravity is. But you know what? We do understand what gravity is, and I'm going to tell you why we understand what gravity is. We understand what gravity is because Nassim Haramein has done the math. And it's spin. It's spin. I want to shout this from the rooftops. I want to shake people and say, do you understand how important this concept is? It's spin. It's literal spin. It's figurative spin. It's philosophical spin. It's literal spin. So important to understand that. Why is that important to understand it? Well, first of all, if we're really going to create technologies that counter effect the experience of gravity, if you want to call gravity control that, figuring out how to make the counter effect move so that you can point your ship, your starship, in any direction regardless of gravity and just head that direction instead of falling into the nearest object that you got going near you. If you really understand where the spin of all of that's coming from, then we would be able to build technology that lifts us off the planet. Maybe put a little device into every car, air quoting car, because I don't think we'd call them cars anymore. We'd have to call them something else. Hovercraft, I don't know, but you put a little device in there that I don't know, but when you truly understand reality, that's when you're really going to make some headway in some real technology. And I know that gravity control is in our future, and when you contemplate the implications and spin it into what our society is going to look like. Now, you can keep coming from a people are greedy, human beings have a tendency to make war, we've always done that, we're bad, we're selfish. Actually, the fact that we're selfish is not a bad thing, and you could work with it. The way you work with the selfish idea is you got to understand that the whole paradigm is a win-win. Look at it as a win-win paradigm, and then you've got it. So there is the allness and there is you and your smallness, and everybody has this to deal with. Everybody has some version of dealing with, well, I'm this tiny little dandruff on the shoulders of God, sort of dust in the wind, mote of nothingness compared to the Almighty. I have that aspect of me, and everybody is faced with that sense of your smallness. And then you have the sense of the everything around you, how big all of that is. And then you've got to work out some sort of meaningful life in between all of that. What a lot of people tend to do is they just don't even think about it, and they just think about, well, what do I want? What do I want? What do I need? What would make me happy? What do I like? What do I want? Now, as it turns out, what you really, 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 really want, you may not be physically in your physical brain aware of exactly what you want. But there is a what you want that who you are really, really knows. And this thing never goes away. It's always connected to everything. It's always connected to everything that you know, to all of the everything that you know. It is always connected to that, this all of everything that you want. Now, it turns out the what that you want comes from a bigger self that you are. And so what I want is actually dovetails perfectly with the inner being of you and what you want, and her and what she wants, and him and what he wants, and they and what they want, and all of us and what we want. When you get out big enough in your own self, go down deep enough in your own morphogenetic field of data, you will connect to the vibrational inner being of everybody else. What does this mean? You know, because I could get all Abraham about it, but she's all Abraham about it. And nobody needs to redo Abraham. She is perfect and unique and delightful and amazing. And she has stood up in front of us for 35 years and testified. Basically, this is how I see it. What she's been testifying to is this binary nature of who we are. One, connected to an absolute knowingness of everything, this data stream and data flow of all things. Part of us is connected to that, and then the other part of us is the part that you're all familiar with. The you that you know of in your physical brain, the one with the physical problems, the one with the psychological problems. The you that you get to decide what you're thinking. That you, the you that little you has absolute control over. There is that you, and there is a bigger you that you are. And this bigger you that you are is connected to the rest of the field. And so the answer to this puzzle, the answer to this equation, what puzzle, what equation, you ask? I have no puzzle, I have no equation. The answer is step to the win-win position. And this is a rule that it follows in every field. It doesn't matter what project you're trying to organize. It's an organizing principle. It's foundational. That you move to the win-win, and then you will have the cooperation of the field. If you move to the win-lose, you're going to have the competition. You're going to have the cooperation of half the field and the competition of the other half of the field. If you play it like a win-win, then the whole field becomes your potential cooperative component. And that's actually the paradigm we're looking for. That's the paradigm we are looking for here on planet Earth. And it's how we should, it's the equation, the fundamental equation that we bring to every question. Every question, what's the win for the highest number of winners? And it doesn't have to be split down the middle. Half of us are winners and half of us are losers. The only way that happens is when we're all caught playing a win-lose paradigm. We're all caught playing this competition game. And the universe is so very reflective, so perfectly reflective, that whatever stance we take, it reflects it back to us as though it's the truth and says, yes it is, here it is. But whether we play the win-win or whether we play the win-lose, it's gonna do that. And so you gotta ask yourself, which one of these do we want? Now, you might say, well, I'd say win-win, but if we have to split that pie amongst all of us, then all of us are going to have less pie. But I'm telling you, that's not the paradigm. That's not what's going to happen. When you get in touch with your inner being and play the game as a win-win, trying to figure out how, whatever my endeavors are, whatever it is I want to do, how to pull in the highest number of cooperative components to my ventures. I got a problem here too. Am I? See, I have no idea. My stupid, and I can't do anything about it. I cannot do anything about it. It is just so distressing. And while I'm recording and everything, it's hiding how long I've been recording. Well, I can go over to the streaming. That'll tell me. I also notice that I have updates I need to do. Let's see. Yeah, okay, 15 minutes. Oh, there's somebody listening. Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm going to go back to riffing. Who am I? Who am I? Is actually, are they still? I don't even know. One view, average view. Somebody's been with me the whole time. Oh, bless you. I love you. Okay, well, let me get back to where I was. We're riffing about the nature of reality itself because I think it matters. It really matters. Every one of us is like addressing the whole universe, trying to figure out how it works. How do I get what I want instead of a big fat what I don't want sandwich, which is what a lot of people are getting. And most people are getting a mixed bag, as am I, you know. I didn't win in this last election, but you know what? It's really wrong. Our whole system set up in this win-lose, it's just weird. We've got to fix that. And I've got lots of ideas about what practically will fix all of our problems on planet Earth. Every single one of them can be tied back to this misunderstanding. And when you add in the understanding, then, woo, all of a sudden, all kinds of ideas about what to do to fix all of our problems, to line up our systems so that they are truly serving all the people. We all need to transport anywhere we want to go. We all need to have a ticket onto the supply chain of humanity. And how do you get that? Well, you have to capitalize. You have to capitalize. Somehow you have to offer something of value. You have to offer yourself somehow to the whole. And then from that, you get your ticket, which is like money, you know. And then you get to go shopping on the smorgasbord of the supply chain of humanity, because we are a single mega organism. We are a super organism unto this planet. And if you want to explore that idea further, go watch a movie called, and it's on YouTube for free. You can just put YouTube, this in the YouTube search bar, put Living in the Future's Past. And it's narrated by Jeff Bridges, and it's great. And it talks about us as a superorganism and made of oil, and how the oil has energized us and brought us to a particular frequency pitch. And now I think the next move is to hit a higher frequency, and we're going to get that one by using a fuel source that is not fossil fuel. And what is it going to be? It's not going to be wind either, and it's not going to be solar, and it's all of those, every single one of those paradigms, clean fusion, electric cars and the electric grid, every single one of those, there's a sameness about the paradigm, and I'm going to point it out to you. You may not have ever noticed this before. The sameness to all of that paradigm is that every single one of them, there is a centralized power source that then is wired into a first world network of homes that have the wiring. There's an intensity of focus and work and stuff. And only those people are the ones. That's how you get the power. It has to come through the lines, through the lines, and then through the transformers and da 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 da, and into your wired home, where then you plug your devices into the wiring. That's not what the future is. And it's really cool that that's not what the future is, because that kind of centralized energy creates centralized power. Huh, isn't that funny? And isn't that ironic that it would do that? And we've got to get away from centralized power. Centralized power is the problem. And integrated power scattered everywhere and linked up little by little, that's actually how nature works, with every one of the individual points having perfect autonomous control over their position. Plugged into source, feeling their impulses freely from that position, and then willingly joining into the wholeness of the group from their own volition. Wow! Can you imagine what life on planet Earth, what human life on planet Earth would look like if we actually operated from that kind of a system? Well, you know what's going to give us that system? Our ability to decentralize the power grid. And how is that going to work? I'll tell you how it's going to work. We're going to get off fossil fuel by getting on to source energy. I'm not going to diss fossil fuel. It got us to the frequency that we are at. You bless the vehicle that brought you where you are. You don't curse it and kick it and say, oh my God. It brought us to this point. It's just now time to leave it and get on with something better. And that is plugged into source energy and gravity control. And where is all of that going to come from? It's going to come from us understanding, it's going to come from us understanding a couple of things. The unified physics and mathematics between the quantum world and its forces, strong, weak, Coriolis and gravity, or actually, what are the electromagnetic and Coriolis forces? Are those the two forces? And there's four forces within the atom. These atom, this, and then we have in the cosmological field all the Newtonian and even Einsteinian, the relativity, what it looks like when big things move around. And then we have the forces within the atom and what it looks like when those things move around. And conventional commercial physics has not reconciled those. Ask Sheldon Cooper. He has no idea how this, even though Nassim Haramein did the math in 2012. I would have loved to have been someone in that world getting that written into the Big Bang Theory. That would have been interesting. But the math has been done. The cosmological and the quantum fields have been reconciled. The problem is what they imply about consciousness, about who we are, about how it really works, what really would constitute gravity control and pure plugged into source energy. All of that. Commercial physics is not ready to embrace all of that because it flies in the face of a lot of the infrastructure that we have upon planet Earth in this moment, created by commercial physics and all that. But, it is what it is. Don't push back against anything. Just realize, wake up and realize the tools that we have at our hands, at our fingertips, that every single one of us has at their fingertips. And if you would realize that and link into your true resources, understanding who you really are and how the field really is configured, we don't have to go push back against anything we don't like. We can just start building the world we want. And start it now. And this is how I would suggest you do it. Do it with yourself first. Make friends with your vibrational inner self. and find her suggestions for your path of most meaningful, most benefit to the rest of the field around you, most joyful and pleasing unto your own eye as well. Because I'm not talking about sacrificing yourself for the whole. I'm talking about an understanding of how to be yourself for the whole. And so it kind of comes back to we have a tendency to be binary. But the binary that we tend to be is an or-ness. This or that. This or that. And in actual fact, the binary that we really are is this and that. And we have to add things together, not subtract them out. If you really want to understand the whole universe, then truly, if what you are trying to understand is the whole universe, you can't subtract anything, first of all. Second of all, so I spent a lot of the greater part of my earlier existence trying to understand the universe. And so I did an awful lot of what Esther Hicks and Abraham, what she talks about, what people do. They do, they do a lot of looking at what you do like, and looking what you don't like, and looking what you do like, and looking what you don't like, and all of that. And that's all well and fine if all that you are trying to do is understand what the smorgasbord is. If what you're trying to understand is what the whole thing is, well, you got to do some of that because there's negative frequencies in the world. But that's a different question than if what you're asking is, how do I operate my equipment within this world that is to its highest effectiveness? How do I get a momentum of positivity going in my favor, focusing on something that I like and making something that I want happen? That's a whole different thing than what's the world. Well, what I have noticed in my 60-some years of evaluating what the world is that in a way, the human world absolutely is a freaking smorgasbord, mixed bag of every flavor, good and nasty. We are wonderful, we are divine even, we are sublime in how wonderful we are, how kind, the depths of our kindness and the farthest reaches of our imagination is just breathtaking and beyond the scope. Unfortunately, our darkness is kind of equal to that, and the reason that it is, and it doesn't have to be, the truth is, in the whole universe, there is a like light and dark. No, there isn't. There is the is that is. The is that is. I'm talking about the molecules and the atoms and the reality, the physical rolling manifestation. There's that thing. There's a lot you can say about understanding how that is rolling too, because have you noticed that in conventional physics they have this idea, they call it dark energy and dark matter, and they don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? I know what it is. It's the spin of the whole field is what it is. And that's why it's like 96% of the whole thing is this. It's not the little tiny bits of matter pulling everything else together, and that's how come it isn't big enough. And so they think it's dark matter. Well, it's the whole field spinning. Go watch Nassim Haramein has a show over on Gaia, and the first episode you can find on YouTube for free. So put in the YouTube search bar, put Quantum Revolution. I think that's what it's called, Quantum Revolution. episode, the physics of a unified universe. That's the name of the episode. And then there's other episodes. I don't think they're available on YouTube. So if you're really fascinated and you don't have Gaia, then go over and do a 1-week trial and just watch this series. There's 12 episodes. He talks about all the aspects of this universe based on the new mathematics that unifies it. The strong force holding the atom together is gravity. And your understanding of that, it has to do with the spinning space-time. And that 96% of the energy and matter that we don't know where it is, that we call it dark energy and dark matter, it is the whole field spinning together. We are spinning together. We are one with one another. There is one thing going on. We are all dancing together. And it's really cool. If you think about that, it's like, oh my gosh, if I consciously worked with this, if I consciously started summoning the synchronicities, started believing truly all the way down to the soles of my feet in my worthiness and my value and in my physical connection, So what influence do we have on the field? What power do we have? And what power don't we have? Both good questions. The power that you do have is you have the power to influence the rest of the field through your chaos or your coherence. And I'm going to spell both of those with a K. And I have no idea whether the Greeks have something called coherence that they spell with a K, but they do have something called chaos that they spell with a K, K-A-O-S, and it is a primordial Greek god. Can you understand what they're saying? It's a force, this force of chaos or force of coherence. It's the organization of the organization of the inward spin is consciousness. And you can see that the organizational force of intention and desire and thought and momentum of thought and focus and law of attraction, and it all kind of comes into one place. And then there's the outward spinning. It's a different kind of organization. It's a chaotic organization, but it's still an organization. It's like the organization of a hurricane. It's a different kind of, but it's still spin. They're both spin. One's an inward spin, the other one's an outward spin. They're both spin. And that's the organization of the universe. Those are the two forms of, and you could call one darkness, it isn't really. And as far as human beings go, what the uniquely awful potential that's created around human beings has to do with whether our consciousness is connected to the wholeness that we are, or whether it's spinning off on its own negative jag. Human beings in their thoughts, when they walk without the guidance of the inward spin of the almighty fundamental forces of organization that we all are, when you're off on your own little individual thing, imagining all kinds of things that aren't true, but there you are, and you're playing it out, whatever, you can create some pretty spectacular darkness. I'm not going, on the one hand, I'm going to argue that all human beings are good. All human beings are good, period, full stop. There is not people who are worth more than others. The master creator is not making mistakes. We equal an integrated wholeness, all of us added together. And it's sublime and it's meaningful. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible and all that. That's a quote from Khalil Gibran said that. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. So on the one hand, I'm going to tell you that we're all good. On the other hand, I studied the Holocaust. I studied the people who committed that. I studied the horrors that they committed. I also had a moment in time in the 80s when I was I was absolutely outraged and horrified to recognize this system of vivisection that underpinned our medical model. Our medical model, our pharmaceutical model, it was all done for legal reasons. So there was all these interconnected, and the horrors, the inhumane horrors that we were being conducted in animal lab experiments in the name of this and that and the other thing over here in America seemed to me very, 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 like downright the exact same frickin' spirit as the laboratories of Dr. Mengele. And they had the same kind of soulless, weird, non-wise spirit underneath, this sort of not realizing the meaning of everything kind of spirit. The only reason that the vivisectors have to do it on animals, Dr. Mengele would have been a perfect vivisector. He just was able to do what most vivisectors would like to do, and that is actually try it on human beings, because they know how you can't tell. All the species are different. You can't really tell what it's going to be like unless you test it on the human being. And what am I saying? Why did I go down this weird negative jag for just a second? Because what I'm telling you is I know how bad people can be. People can be really, 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 really bad. Really bad. But what is that? I'll tell you what it is. It's a number of things. And some of it comes from them specifically, and some of the effects comes from the field, because we are a field phenomenon. You can't actually disconnect yourself fully from the field around you that is behaving, especially as human beings, because we have all kinds of things in our makeup, in our system, that go to how we behave. Things like the mirror neurons that we have in our brains. Did you know we have mirror neurons in our brains? And these mirror neurons cause other people's behavior to trigger activity in our own brain. When I see you do something, my mirror neuron fires just as though I did it. And so it's like, if you're doing something that I wouldn't do and that I think is messed up in some way, when I see you do it, it fires off in my brain and I get a contradiction. I'm like, I need you to stop doing that so that I can feel better. That's actually why some of that is coming from us, that need for other people to behave themselves. There's other things too. So I claim that all people are good. All people are good. And the problem is misalignment and misunderstanding and not knowing who we are and not knowing the mathematics that connects the small to the large. And why does that matter? Because that's what we're made of. We're made of all of that. And so when you figure out what it all is, that's what we are. Ooh, how interesting, how interesting. And all of this is also going to lead us to an understanding of we don't need to burn fossil fuel anymore. We just don't need to. What do you mean we don't need to? What would we do instead? And the answer is... That was a drum roll. Over unity. What the hell is over unity, you ask? What is over unity? Over unity is a device. An over unity device would be one that put out more energy, just puts out energy. based on various strategies. Now, there is a movie, I'm going to ask you to go watch this one too, and it is also in YouTube. It is called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Just put it in the YouTube search bar, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, full movie. I can't remember the guy's first name, his last name is Greer. And he's an expert on... And the personal connection that he has to all these different people who were silenced, who came up with over unity devices. One guy had, it was tuning, so it's not, when I say it puts out more energy than it takes us to run, the conventionally educated, the small of mind, will immediately jump to, that's not possible, because you can't create energy out of nothing. You know, that's against the laws of physics. And that's just looking at it small, because frankly, you aren't creating energy out of nothing. You're tapping into energy that's already there and moving it around, understanding how it moves and moving it around. But you are not creating anything out of nothing. At every point, everywhere, there is almost unlimited, infinite energy everywhere. Actually, to all intents and purposes, it might as well be infinite. But I think that they don't count it as infinite because they figure that the universe is a quantity at some point. So it's not, but it's nearly infinite. The energy of the whole universe is everywhere because it's comprised of all of the Plancks banging up against each other, reverberating, if you will, and causing through its holographic reverberation an interference pattern that contains all the information of the whole thing on something as small as a Planck. Certainly something as small as a proton. In the Planck field of every proton is reflected all of the information of all of the other protons in all of the rest of the universe. And I believe that it's specific to that location. You know, so the Planck field from all of my protons is specifically reflecting everything from where I am. Every now, uploaded and updated every Planck instant. And what is a Planck instant? I actually I have more slides, and I could show you my slides. I could go ask whether anybody's still listening. I'm so new at this. I have to just keep moving, or I'll get frightened. And is my viewer still watching? Oh, I have 2 views. My average view duration. I don't know if anybody's watching me anymore. I don't think so. I must have lost them. Oh, somebody liked me though. That's good. That's good. Oh. Indigo, I love you. You are someone in England. All right, I'm going to go back to my show. Because I do have lots of practical advice. And we were in the middle of talking about over unity and what over unity is and how that is going to fix humanity. Because it's going to decentralize the energy equation and allow for unlimited clean free energy at every point of desire everywhere across the globe, and you won't have to have first world infrastructure in order to capture it. What you're going to need is a device that plugs you into the field somehow. Now, that movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, it's a documentary talking about a century's worth of governments snatching away these devices when people tried to develop them. Here in the United States, it's our patent office. You go to the patent office with your device, your precious device, and you want to patent it, and then you're going to be an energy billionaire or whatever because you've cracked the code and everybody. But the thing is, The true understanding of the future is that we don't have to plug into this big distribution system. You can be out on a desert island with no one anywhere around and have power, have energy, have all the energy you could possibly need. And it's not just solar or whatever, it's really good energy that will power your internet technology, that will power your air conditioning, that will power your, whatever, your boat that's going to take you from this island to that island. And all of a sudden, all of those gorgeous little nations in Micronesia and wherever out in the boonies do not have to sell their souls to the International Monetary Fund in order to get energy to come their way in the form of barrels of oil. And you don't have to have the same kind of infrastructure as far as traveling from here to there either. If you've got gravity control, screw the roads. No more slathering the landscape in asphalt and concrete. We can re-garden Eden, pull our roads back up off the surface of the planet. I have dreams of a future where we invent devices that pull up the damn barbed wire and re-roll it into big rolls, and then they're sitting somewhere out on the prairies and they become the most magnificent sanctuaries for large colonies of birds. Oh, so cool. Such wonderful ideas about our future. You just can't be too bogged down by the muck that you see in front of you. Don't worry about that. That's not who we are. The reality that you see in this moment is not the realest of reality. It's true. What Abraham says is true. The actual leading edge is at the vibrational point where the ideas are coming up, where you can see the possibility and you're leaning that way. Because that's the direction that your source is leaning all the time. By the way, if you want to be a regular listener on a live basis, I will start. I have a hard time waiting all the way till 6 a.m. And starting in the new year, I suppose I could. I always start checking me if you want to listen to me from the beginning, because I'm going to start doing this every single day for an hour. Every single day. And right now, I have done it for, 5 views. Wow, I'm so excited. Every day I'm going to be doing this. I riff. I just sort of like my own personal more oral meditation where I just start pulling in all of the things that I know and all of the things that I feel and all of the things that I want and all of the things that I dream from an inner being kind of perspective. Looking at the possibilities. Who are we? What is really possible based on what my design actually is. I have ideas about where our design actually came from too, because I think we're genetically modified. I think it is, the evidence is present in our genes. You can see it in the evidence that I point to is the fact that human chromosome number 2 is a fused chromosome, and it is responsible for 76% of your neocortex volume. I think some 200,000 years ago, somebody did a little tweak on us. Now, I've heard that we might have alien DNA in us, and I don't know where that would be. I'm not a geneticist. I just do know that human chromosome number 2 has a great deal to do with why a human being is different than the rest of the animal kingdom. That's why I think we need to consciously know who we are and consciously apply what we can do to the field and consciously apply it to understanding our problems, and let's fix our problems. We have every tool we could possibly need to fix our problems. I cannot see. I've got some technical issues going on today, and I'm hoping tomorrow I do not have these technical issues. I showed. This is an article over at the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. This is a peer-reviewed American. I think the national in this case is American, but it's a peer-reviewed science where everybody publishes their work to their peers, and it's not just genetics; it's all kinds of stuff. This volume was published October 15th, 1991. And if you look at this, it's really interesting. Look at the full abstract. Look at what they're claiming. Once they do the sequencing on both sides of this fused chromosome, it's like two chromosomes fused together at the telomere, and then they sequenced it all the way through, and this is what they concluded, because there's redundancies on both sides of that fusion that have been clipped away to make that fusion hold. But they say, we conclude it's the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. I find this fascinating. Now, this article does not say, we conclude that this was done intentionally, but through, CRISPR technology from an ancient, extraterrestrial species here on planet Earth 200,000 years ago. It doesn't say anything like that. But it is a fused chromosome, and somehow it did fuse. Greg Braden claims that the likelihood of this happening accidentally is rather small. Let's see. I don't know where I was. So I'm just going to go back to this background. I do have lots of other slides. I have slides of Nassim Haramein's paper, both the YouTube video, 37-minute YouTube version. I do believe that we have all the tools that we need on planet Earth here to solve every single one of our problems. All of the technology that we need to solve all of our problems, it already exists. We can resequester carbon. We can desalinate ocean water. We can recycle Garbage Island. We could do anything we needed to do. The problem is that the energy that it takes to do it would create as much garbage as it cleans up. And so it doesn't make any sense. But this new understanding of the field, of ourselves in the field, of the energy in the field, of who we are as the field, is going to, we can use this information to solve every one of our problems. Plug directly into source energy. Or there's ways to do it without plugging directly into source energy. Over Unity devices have been created and snatched away from us in the name of national security. And I don't entirely disagree with that point of view. I mean, if you believe the movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, some of this information has been known for 100 years. And what would it have been like if Hitler had never run out of energy? If he didn't understand source or himself or consciousness or alignment or his inner being or any of that, and he just thought what he thought and just was he was an ever-ready bunny, He was going to go and go and go and go and go and go and go until something stopped him. And had he had all the energy he needed, he could have kept his troops warm, perhaps. So I'm not going to entirely disagree, but I'm going to disagree now, because I think that the national security threat of the continued use of fossil fuel and the continuation of us not understanding how this works is much, much greater. So I think it's time for us to get out of the fossil fuel, plug into something better, energize humanity here on planet Earth. I wish I had any sense of how long I had been doing this show, because one of the technical difficulties I'm having is that I can't see the bottom of my screen. And so I have no idea how long any of this has gone on. And I can't pause. And let's see, it is 6:52. I've probably been going an hour. We're going to find out here in a bit, because I think I'm going to end for today, and I'm going to be back again tomorrow. It'll be sometime around 5:30, between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, U.S. That's when I will start streaming again tomorrow. And until then, stay cool. I will catch you again on the flip side. We'll be talking about source energy again, over and over and over. Will we be talking about this and how to free us from fossil fuels, and who we are from a philosophical and a metaphysical and all of that standpoint. We'll be back doing it again and again and again, because that's the name of the show. Who am I? Who am I? And how does my understanding of who I am aid and abet my ability to succeed in my life and in all of our ventures? And so until tomorrow, I see, I'm 56 minutes. It's not quite an hour. That's actually not what I usually do. I usually do a whole hour. Well, you know what? A little bit less than an hour today. So until tomorrow, when I hope you will join me right around this same time. Start looking for me around 5:30, 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I will settle into exactly when I want to, and I'll make it regular. But until tomorrow, be cool, do your best, and as always, may that source ever and always be with you.